All right, if you're thinking about investing in real estate in Nigeria's capital, Abuja, you need to know something right up front. There's really only one game in town, and it's run by a single, very powerful entity. So forget everything you might know about other markets. In Abuja, success isn't just about having the capital, it's about cracking the code of the FCTA. So that leads to the big question, right? Is Abuja a prime piece of real estate, a gold mine waiting for you, or is it a regulatory minefield? Well, the truth is, it's kind of both. The biggest rewards, the real wins, they're reserved for the people who learn how to navigate the rules, not the ones who try to get around them. So let's be super clear about who's actually in charge here. The entire real estate landscape in Abuja is governed by one single body, the Federal Capital Territory Administration, or FCTA for short. And because of Nigeria's Land Use Act, they are the ultimate gatekeeper. They administer all the land on behalf of the federal government, no exceptions. So, to make sense of all this, we've broken it down into a 5-step journey for any serious investor. First, we'll look at the high-stakes nature of Abuja real estate. Then, we'll get into understanding the FCTA system itself. After that, we'll talk about acquiring and securing land, developing by the rules, and finally, how to manage your investment for the long haul. All right, first up, Abuja's high-stakes real estate. Why are the rules so different here? Well, it all comes down to one thing. Its real estate market operates under a completely centralized system. Seriously, it's a model you just won't find anywhere else in Nigeria. And here's the fundamental difference you have to grasp. In other states, governors control the land. But in Abuja, the FCTA's authority is absolute. And what that means for you is that market demand and a big budget, they're actually secondary. If your project doesn't align with their master plan, it's pretty much dead on arrival. This really gets to the heart of it. You have to change your mindset. Stop thinking of compliance as just some bureaucratic hurdle you have to jump over. In Abuja, it's your primary business advantage. Your ability to work within the FCTA system, well, that's what's going to separate the winners from the losers. Okay, so to navigate this system, you've got to know who the key players are, right? So let's break down the FCTA's internal structure and see who does what. You see, the FCTA isn't just one giant office. It's more like a series of checkpoints you have to pass through. Think of it this way. AGIS, that's the Abuja Geographic Information Systems, is your first stop. They handle all the land records and verification. Then you move on to the Department of Land Administration to actually get your title. Once you own it, you have to go to the Department of Development Control for building plan approval. And all along the way, the Abuja Environmental Protection Board is making sure you're compliant. Just knowing that sequence, honestly, that's half the battle right there. And this is exactly where so many projects get stuck. You go to the wrong department, you miss a single step, and boom, you're hit with delays, rejections, or even a costly stop work order. Mastering this workflow isn't just a good idea, it's absolutely fundamental to managing any project in Abuja. Okay, so you know the players. Now it's time for the first major step, actually acquiring and securing the land. This is where you build the legal foundation for your entire investment. And trust me, there is zero room for error here. This 4-step process you see here, it is absolutely non-negotiable. Step 1, verify the source. Make sure the land actually comes from a valid FCTA allocation. 2, do your due diligence using the AGIS database to confirm everything. 3, you have to get the minister's consent for any land transfer. And finally, number 4, perfect your title by registering all your interests, your certificates of occupancy, deeds of assignment, the whole thing. If you skip even one of these steps, it basically makes all the others worthless. This is your only path to secure ownership. And let me be crystal clear about this. Those informal, undocumented land deals that might be common in other places, they are an absolute recipe for disaster in Abuja. The FCTA has a very long, very real history of revoking ownership and even demolishing buildings that have improper documentation. A shortcut that might work in another state could lead to a complete and total loss here. So, after all that paperwork, what's the payoff? Why is perfecting your title so crucial? Well, it's pretty simple. It's about security and it's about money. A perfected title secures your investment against demolition. It unlocks financing because banks won't lend you a dime without it. It absolutely maximizes your future resale value, and it gives you a strong legal defense if any disputes come up. It's just smart business. All right, let's say you've done all that. You've secured your legal ownership. That's a huge milestone, for sure. But it's only half the battle. Now you actually have to build. And in Abuja, how you build is just as regulated as the land itself. And this point is so important. Unauthorized developments, even on land you legally own, are subject to stop work orders, fines, or demolition. I mean, that's a pretty stark warning. You could have a perfect certificate of occupancy in your hand, but if you start building without the right permits or if you stray from your approved plans, believe me, the Department of Development Control will not hesitate to shut you down. Every single investor in Abuja really faces this choice. It's two different paths. On one side, you've got the compliant investor. They get the permits, they stick to the plan, they hire consultants who know the FCTA system, and what do they get? A secure, valuable asset. On the other side, you've got the non-compliant shortcut. This person starts building without approval, ignores the rules, and what do they face? Fines, demolition, and the very real possibility of a total loss. The consequences couldn't be clearer.
So here's a really key piece of advice, a mental shift you have to make. The FCTA approval process, it's not a delay. You have to see it as a fixed, predictable part of your project timeline. Build those timelines into your business plan from day one. Seriously, in this market, a little strategic patience is essential. It'll save you way more money than trying to rush things ever will.
Okay, so you've acquired the land, you've developed by the rules, you're done, right? Not quite. The work isn't over. The final and maybe most important phase is managing and protecting that investment for the long term. This is the savvy investor's playbook. One thing to remember is that your costs don't just stop when construction is finished. Long-term management means you have to budget for all these ongoing FCTA-related costs. We're talking about things like ground rent, development levies, and other charges. And falling behind on these payments isn't just about getting a penalty. It can actually put your entire ownership at risk of being revoked. So what does that long-term management actually look like? Well, it's all about being proactive. You need to maintain professional, transparent relationships. You should probably retain legal counsel that's experienced in FCT land law. You've got to keep your projects aligned with the Abuja master plan, pay all your fees on time, and make sure your data in the AGIS system is always accurate. It's a continuous process, not just a one-time checklist you can tick off and forget. When you really boil it all down, it comes to this final choice. Are you an investor or a speculator? The speculator who takes shortcuts. They're looking at a high risk of revocation, very limited financing options, and, the potential for total loss. But the strategic investor, the one who takes the time to master the rules, they get secure capital, enhanced resale value, and an asset that's resilient and can deliver sustainable value for years to come. So that leaves us with one final thought. In a market as uniquely structured as Abuja, maybe the ultimate key to unlocking value isn't just about how much money you have. Maybe, just maybe, mastering the rulebook is the real competitive advantage.